Hmm? What is usually there in a stored procedure? Yeah. So why do we write stored procedures? Next. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. And the database server. Yeah. Okay. Next. Next. What do you know about stored procedures? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. What are the advantages of doing it? Mm. Oh. Okay. Next. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that is how to write a stored procedure. No, I am not interested in that. Why? Why do we have stored procedures? What are the advantages of writing stored procedures? Memory? No, because you are storing, you are occupying more memory. Okay. Is that all? Next. Okay, how do you increase the performance? How do you increase the performance? Next. Mm-hmm. Hmm. What will happen by doing all this? Next. Hmm. Okay. Sudhir, who's missing? Aditya, Prashant, and Malay. Costa, where is that one? Sudhir, Array, stored procedure. What is the topic going on? What are you saying? Relational database system. Did you read it all? Huh? Did you read it all for 2 days? Perfectly no. Imperfectly at least. Im- You're not even answering anywhere close to it. Next. Where were you, Venkatreddy, last Friday? Huh? Hyderabad. What were you doing? Not well. Did you study over the weekend? Little bit. So you want a job or you don't want a job? Who will give you? A little bit. Next. In a data? Okay. 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 Okay, so all this while we saw writing some simple, we used to write SQL statements. Okay. So we used to write some select statements like select Okay, so you write something like select star from student, or it can be a big statement like where you have some multiple joins, or you have inner queries, or something like that. So you might have complex SQL statements. So any given point of time, whenever you want to execute a statement, you say execute. What it does is, the very first step is for any SQL, it does a syntax check. Okay, this is nothing but your compilation. And then syntax check first, and then it's going to be compilation, and then it is going to create something called an execution plan. When I say execution plan, what it does is, what it tries to do here for an execution plan is, it will, if at all you are joining two tables, it figures out the best way to join the tables, or the best way to combine statements or combine tables, or the best way to execute inner queries or whatsoever. So it prepares something called an execution plan. After the execution plan, final step is execution. So you did not know all this? You are not there in the class? Then why did you not tell me of these things? Okay, so there are 4 steps that happen. The first one is syntax check, compilation, execution plan, and execution. Then say you are on your in yahoo.com, you are on your inbox.asps. You are on that page. Okay? So, when you go to that page, what will you see? You will see a list of emails. Say if at all in the database there was a table called email table, in which there was something called from email, subject, something in this, you started writing there is some data. So if at all you had to display the emails for a particular user, what would be the query like? Select star from email where user ID is equals to say something like Sadhu. This would be the SQL statement. Now, if at all you wrote this SQL statement in this particular page, and then every time you refresh this page, what is going to happen? This particular statement will go to the database server. Okay? And what the database server will do? Because every time it sees that a statement is coming, okay, it will first do a syntax check, it will do compilation, it will do execution plan, and then it will execute. Okay? Morning you said refresh. Another 5 minutes you said refresh. Has the query changed at all? After 10 days also if you refresh, has the query changed at all? No. What is the only thing that can change here probably? This parameter. It's for me or some other user or anything. But does the query change? Does the way it has to fetch the data from the database or the way it has to join tables, does it change? No. Okay? But every time you do a refresh, this entire query goes back to the database server from the web server, okay, or from the application server, and then it assumes that it is a new query, does all these steps. But according to you, what should it only do? What should it only do? The query hasn't changed. So should it do the syntax check again? No, it's not necessary, but the thing is it will do it because it does not know whether the query has changed or not. Okay. Had it known that the query has not changed, okay, and nothing has changed, it's only that the end user wants to execute the same thing again and again, it would have skipped all these 3 steps and would have only performed execution. Okay. Now, to do this, the SQL server needs to have faith in the query, or it needs to know that the query has not changed. So what it will do is, it will create an object called stored procedure. Okay, it will create an object called stored procedure. I mean, it's not it, you have to create an object called stored procedure. You need to store this statement inside that particular stored procedure. It need not be one stored procedure, it can be, need not be one statement. Okay, it need not be one statement, it can be multiple statements. Okay, so next time, what you are going to tell, you are going to say, so you give a name to it, you give a name, a small name, USP underscore, select student. In this what you will write something like select star from student table, something like this. This will be a statement and this will be the name of the stored procedure. So from the application, what will you pass? You will just pass please execute USP underscore select student for me and then give the result. Are you sending the entire statement here? No. Where will you pick up the statement? Whatever is there on the database server. So first time when you are storing the statement, at that time it will do a compilation, it will do a syntax check, it will create an execution plan. Okay? Why? Because before it stores, it first has to ensure that everything is proper. So once it will do that, after that whenever you call, it will just execute and then give back the response. Is that clear? Now, function. What is a function? It is also a set of statements that are stored on the server, right? So what is the difference between a function and a stored procedure? a function can be used within a DML statement. Okay, when I say DML, within an insert, select, update, delete. Okay, in all these places you can use a function. Whereas the stored procedure, it can't be used as a part of any DML statement. Okay, you just execute, you have to call it independently. Can you call a function independently? You can never call a function independently, it only has to be a part of some DML statement. Okay, whereas a stored procedure can be called all by itself. Now, so how do you create a procedure? You will say create procedure, give a name to the procedure. Normally, you saw something called sp_rename, right? For what do we use sp_rename? Huh? Why do you one of you? Why do you call sp_rename for what? To change the column name. sp_bind rule, to bind the rule to a particular column. So whatever you see sp, right, that means it is system procedure. Okay. If you give sp_, you can just give sp_. But the best practice is not to give sp_, you have to give some other thing other than sp. Why? Because all the system procedures, whatever the system has created for its own use, everything will be called as sp_. Okay? So if at all you give your procedure name also sp_, by default it will first go and check in the list of system procedures. When it is not found there, it will come to the user procedures. Okay? So why waste time to go and search in the system procedure? So always give something else. I prefer giving USP, some people give n_. They give different convention. I say USP_, select MCA student. Okay, this is the name of the procedure. What is it as? As select star from where degree is equal to n. Okay, so I created the procedure. Okay, if you want to do the syntax check and then execute. So what is going to happen in programmability in stored procedures? You will find something called USP_select MCA student. Once you create a procedure, if you want to modify the statement, you can either write alter procedure USP_select as begin and end is for brackets, right? You can write the new statement here, or you can go to this procedure here, right click and then say modify. Okay, or you can, if you want to create a new procedure, you can just right click and then say new procedure. It will give you a template. How do you write comments in SQL? 2 hyphens is a comment. So here, this is how we are saying you can write the procedure. This is a template. Don't worry about it. Now, once you have created a stored procedure, how do you execute a procedure? You can just say exec execute USP_select MCA student. So what it is going to do? It is going to execute the statement that is there inside and then give the response. Okay. Say my stored procedure can just contain one or more statements. How many statements are here? I have altered this procedure. How many result sets you will get? You will get 2 result sets. You can have any number of statements. Okay. Next. Say if at all you wrote a stored procedure, let me if at all you wrote a stored procedure called select MCS student, okay, what will it only show? It only show MCS student. Now if I want to show BCS student, you will have to write another stored procedure called USP underscore select BCS student, right? If I want to show BE students, what will you write? Select BE student. But is that the right way of doing it? You should be able to pass degree, okay, and then based on the degree you should be able to show the respective student. So you will say create procedure USP underscore select students by degree, okay, and then you need to pass a parameter to it. In function, how do you pass parameters? By opening the brackets, okay, but in stored procedure you don't open any brackets. All you will say is at degree. What is degree? Var of say 50 as begin n degree is what? Fine. Now, how do you execute this procedure? I am just passing the parameter MCS. Okay. Why did I have to put it in single quote? Because it is varchar. Okay. If I have to pass two parameters, degree and then another parameter is I'll just select students by degree. Select. I'll say pass students by degree. Okay. So I need to give degree and I also want to pass marks as an integer. Okay. And maths greater than pass marks and physics greater than pass marks and do you see this? What am I doing here? Okay, I am passing two parameters, created the procedure. What is the second parameter? Pass marks. Only one fellow pass. So multiple parameters, how many other parameters are there? You just keep putting a comma and then you keep passing. The other thing is, sometimes I want to give a default value to a parameter. Let me alter this. Say if I don't pass any pass marks, I want you to take 50 as the pass mark. You getting my point? Sometimes there might be a scenario where you don't want to pass the mark. If I don't pass the mark, I want it to take as 50. So while defining the parameter, you will set a default value is equal to 50. If I call this now, it is given. Okay. But if at all I say pass mark is 80. Now, it will take 80 as the pass mark. It will not use the default 50 here. Is that clear? So whenever you give, it will use that. If you don't give, it will give the default value. Clear? Now say here, degree, I want to give a default value of MCA. Okay. Now if I don't give anything, will it give default parameters to both? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. So it gave in MCA what there is no fellow with 50. Okay. There are some students without null marks. Okay. So now the next thing, what are the two parameters that this accepts? Degree and pass mark. Both have default values. Now I don't want to give a default value for, I don't want to pass the value for degree. I want to pass the value for pass mark. Then how do I pass? I don't want to pass the value of degree. I want it to use default value. But for pass marks, I want it to use whatever I pass. Just a comma and then say 70. If I do this, it won't work because it expects the parameter. Should I just say 70? If I just say 70, what is going to happen? It will assume that 70 is for degree. Okay. And to say, wait a minute. Just a second. I should not even do that. Okay. Okay. But in this case, it assumes that you are passing 70 for degree, which is not right. So in such cases, all you have to do is you have to say pass marks is equals to, okay, and if at all I want to say one more way, degree is equals to, what you can do, there are multiple ways of passing parameters. If you give the list of parameters normally, it will allocate each parameter value to the respective field. When you have default values, say the default value is towards the end. Okay, if you just pass degree, then it will assume that for pass marks it has to pass 50. Okay. Sometimes if the default value is the first parameter, if there is a default value for the very first parameter, and you want to use the default value for the very first parameter, then for whichever parameters come later, you have to give the parameter name and then pass it. Is that clear? Next. Do you only pass input parameters, or sometimes you might also want to get some output, right? Okay. So whenever we do this, what is the SQL, what is the output of stored procedure? You get something called a result set. Okay. Sometimes you might not need a result set altogether. You might not need a result set altogether. You might just want to get one single value. For one single value, why do you need the entire result set? Okay. Or you might want the result set, but you also want to have one single value. Okay. So for that, I will say create procedure USP underscore select highest select Okay. And I just want to get the name of that, only one name of that fellow. So for that, what I'll do, I'll declare a variable called sname or something, any parameter, and then what is it, varchar of 50. I'll have to say this is output as select @sname is equals to where, how do I find the highest? Yep, where, yeah. Where max is equals to select max of max. Okay. Max proper name. What does it expect? It expects a output parameter. So for that, you first have to declare a variable. Declare say some STU name as varchar of 50. What is this? This is the variable that I have declared. So now this variable or this placeholder, I'll pass it into the stored procedure so that it can be filled, and then I'll take it out and then I'll use it. So what I'll do, I'll say @STU name is the out or output. Okay, and then you will say print name. I have to use all these three together. So what is happening? Is it coming as a result set or it is coming here in the messages? Name is Ullas. Okay. Now, if at all your procedure was something like this, what does this procedure have now? It has two statements. One which returns a list of values. The other one that returns the student name as the output. Okay. In such cases, when you do, what is going to happen? In the results, you are getting all the max marks. But where is it printing the student name? In the messages part. Clear? Sometimes when you want to just get one single value, you can use this output parameter. How do you define an output parameter? You have to use the keyword output. Okay? And if you are executing the stored procedure with output parameter, you first have to declare one output parameter, one variable, pass that variable as output parameter to the stored procedure and then print it. Clear? Next. Can I just have one output parameter or multiple output parameters? You can have any number of output parameters. Can I have one input parameter or multiple? You can have any number of input parameters. Okay. Can I execute one stored procedure within another stored procedure? There is one stored procedure in which I will call another stored procedure. Is it possible? How do you do that? Within this, you just write once again, execute the other stored procedure name. Okay. Then what is going to happen? The output of the inner stored procedure, if at all there is any output of the outer stored procedure, everything will come one after the other in different record sets. Is that clear? Okay. What else did I ask you to do? That figures. Okay. What are triggers? For what? Why do we write a trigger in the first place? No. Why do we write a trigger? Why do we write a trigger? That you are telling what will happen with the trigger. I am asking why should we write a trigger? You are not understanding my question. I am asking why should we write a trigger? So, what does it do mean? That is the answer. No? What you told now is the answer for what does it do? Right? What was my question? No. What was that question? Why do we write trigger? So reuse the code now. Why are you everybody giving the same crap of reusing code now? Then what did you guys read? First thing you have to read is why do we have to use anything? Okay. Then what it is and how to use will come later. But first I want to know is why are we doing certain things? What is the trigger you are answering? Next. You are telling what happens in a trigger. Anybody who knows the answer? Okay, we use the trigger to enforce once again some kind of integrity. Okay. What does entity integrity mean? Sorry, entity integrity. Yeah. What does it do? What is entity integrity? You should be able to uniquely identify any entity. So how do you do that? No, by using primary key. So, how do you enforce referential integrity? By using foreign key. So, whenever you say referential integrity, the relationship is between parent and child. So, there can be one parent table, there can be multiple child tables. Is it possible to maintain integrity between parent, child and grandchildren using referential integrity at the same time? Domain integrity, when you say domain integrity, what does domain integrity do? So domain integrity is specific to a particular column? Specific column, right? What do you have to do when you have to maintain domain across multiple tables? Check constraint. No. Where do you write a check constraint? Only on one particular column. Check constraint is only on one particular column. Rule also, it is only on one particular column it is applicable, but you can write it in one central place and then bind that rule to multiple columns in multiple tables. But it is only for one particular column. Okay. Let's say you have a scenario where there is a college, okay, in which there is admissions department or admissions table, and then there is library table, there is there is library table, there is sports table, and then there is say some cultural activities table. Okay. The moment you get an admission, do you get access to all these things? Sports, library and everything? Yes. And the moment you get out of the college, your access has to be removed from all these things. And then there can be another rule saying that in any semester, if you fail in any semester, you should not have access to sports and cultural activities. You should only have access to library. What are all these? These are some kind of domain rules, right? These are some kind of domain rules of your data. Okay. How do you enforce all these scenarios? These are all logical things, these are all runtime domain rules that are coming up. So how do you do that? You can't write a check constraint for all this, because check constraint will only see what values are coming in that particular column. If you write a rule also, it will only see whether it is conforming to that particular rule in that particular column. Right? If you write a foreign key relationship, it will only see whether values are there, based on that it will have values here. But I am talking about scenarios where, say, if the student has failed, he should not have access to, say, some facilities. That is a rule. Okay, that is some kind of a rule now. Or the moment he gets admission, he has to get he has to get access to all these things. The moment he goes out, the access from all these places has to be removed. So how do you do all this? For that you have something called trigger. Whenever you have to enforce cascading constraints, when I say cascading, based on action in one place, it has to go elsewhere, it has to happen elsewhere. So whenever you have to enforce some cascading constraints or rules or anything like that, you have to go for triggers. Okay? So, let's assume I'll use another table here. So I am creating a table called student access, in which there is something called sports access. I'll say character of 1. Okay, and then I'll say library access character of 1. And then and say what else? Say club access character of 1. Okay. What is this table? I'll call it as student access. Fine. Now in our database called SQL, what we want to do is, if at all a new student has come in, what should happen? He should have access to all the three: sports, library and club. Okay? So what I'll do, I'll say create trigger, give a name to the trigger, trg underscore insert student. What is the next statement after this? On table name. Which table? On the table called student. For insert. Means when I say for insert, after inserting, it will do this action. For insert, and then as begin and end. So what is it that we want to do? We want to say so this, where is my student access table? Just a sec. Forgot to add something. I need to use student ID in the first place. Here for this student ID, we need to have, okay. So how will I know what student ID I have inserted here? How will I know what student ID I have inserted here? So what will happen is, in a given table, in any given table, you are sleeping lady or you are awake? Okay. In any given table, if at all you are inserting some data, the newly inserted data will be held in some temporary table called inserted. Okay. Whatever is the newly inserted data, whichever row you have inserted newly, it can be 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, whatever you have just inserted as a part of the insert statement will be held in a table called inserted. Okay. The name of the table is inserted. Okay. So what will be the structure of this temporary table? If at all the table was student in which you inserted, the structure of this table will be student ID, student name, maths, physics and chemistry. If at all you had inserted in course table, what will be the structure of the table? Of this inserted table now? It will take the shape of course. Okay. So what I'll do? My thing is, I first declare at the rate one variable called SQL ID as integer. Okay. How will I know what student ID has been inserted? I'll say select at the rate SQL ID is equals to student ID from inserted. Is that fine? What is the structure of the inserted table? It will be student ID, student name, degree, maths, physics, chemistry. Okay. What will be available in the student ID column? Whatever is the new student ID that you have inserted, that will be available in at the rate student ID now. What will I do next? I'll say insert into student access value. Okay, and then I'll just say y what am I doing? I am saying whichever newly inserted student ID was there, take that and then put the values in student access, student ID y, something like that. Okay. So what is this trigger on? Trigger is on a particular table. For what kind of action? It is for insert. Okay. And does it happen before inserting or after inserting? It happens after inserting. There are two kinds of triggers, before and after. So whenever I say after, they will do the first action that they were supposed to do and then they'll do the triggering action. Okay. Whenever I say before or instead of, okay, before is not there. I think it's called instead of trigger. So whenever I say instead of trigger, if at all you are trying to insert in the table, it won't do that action, but it will do the action whatever has been written here. Okay. So in this case, let me do one thing. I've written the trigger. Let me first say select star from student. Select star from. Okay, we have nothing. Okay. What I am going to do, in the table called student, insert into student, what will I pass? Value student ID 7, Is that fine? Very clear? It should have only said one row is affected. Why is it saying one row is affected, one row is affected? Because first it has inserted into the student table, then it has inserted into the student access table. So let me come here and then see what happens. You are seeing 7, y. Did you directly insert anything in student access? No. It was through the trigger. Next. You might say, what do you mean by update? Normally, when you say update, right, what do you do? Now, when you say update, what do you actually do? You change the data, right? Say if I want to give some maths marks to somebody else, previously it was 50, 70 and 80. 50, 70 and 80. Now it is 100, 100 and 100. Okay? So what did you do? You removed the old data and then you put the new data. Fine? So at a given point of time, if you want to know what is the old data and what is the new data, you will need two tables. One is inserted, the other one is deleted. Okay? So whenever I say inserted, what will the inserted table contain? The new set of data. New set of data. And what will deleted contain? The old one, whatever was earlier there. Okay? Now, say my college rule says that, if the student has got less than 50 in any subject, he should not have sports and the other access, whatever, club access. So what I'll have to do, I'll first have to know the student ID which has been updated. Okay? So, and then I can also say I want to know student ID, I want to know declare at the rate, I'll put maths as int, at the rate p as int. Okay. So what are the new set of values? M is what? Maths at the rate p is equals to, coming from the physics column, at the rate c is coming from the chemistry column. Where are we getting all these values from? The inserted table, means the new set of values that are coming in. Now what I'll do, I'll check if at the rate m is less than 50 or at the rate p is less than 50 or at the rate c is less than 50. In any of these cases, what will I do? I will say, I will just say update set, what is the name of the column? Where okay. Now let me come back here. I'll say update, say student set maths is equals to 30. On which table am I updating? I am updating on the student table. It is still saying 2 rows affected. So what must have happened? Let me go here. Okay, what is happening? Now this fellow does not have sports and club access. Did you go and do something or it automatically did? It automatically did because of the trigger. Now similarly, you will have something for delete. Okay. If at all you deleted something, all I need is say I need just where now how many tables will be involved? 2 tables or 1 table? Whenever you delete, will there be 2 tables involved or 1 table? And what is the name of that table? It will be deleted table. Okay. Whenever you are inserting, it will use inserted table. Whenever you are updating, it will use inserted and updated table. So what will be the values in inserted table? The new set of values that have been inserted. What will be there in the deleted table? The old set of values. Now whenever you are deleting, how many tables will be involved? 1 table, and that table name is deleted. What will be there in the deleted table? The old set of values. Okay. So I will say I'm saying select SQL ID is equal to student ID from deleted. Now what I want to do, all I want to do is delete from student access where student ID is equal to @SQL ID. If at all he is deleted from the main table, I want him to delete in the second table also. See, I am doing it for student access. Here if I want, there can be another table also. Okay. I can operate on some other table. So there can be some other table like faculty access. Even there you can do some changes here. It will not be necessary that you only have to deal with one table and the other table. The action can happen on one table, but the triggering, whatever action has to happen, it can go and happen in multiple tables. Okay. So let me do this. Now let me say select star from student, select star from student access. All I will do is I will delete this fellow from student. It once again says 2 rows affected. What is happening? It is deleted here as well. Is that clear? So in this scenario, it does the action first, after that it does another action. First, whichever table you are writing the trigger on, it will do some action there. After that, it will see what kind of trigger you have written and it will perform that action on the other table. Next. There is something called instead of trigger, right? Let me show a table. I'll just call it as INFP student, just because I want to show that there is an instead of trigger here. So here what I'll do, I'll create trigger trg insert on this table INFP student on which table it is INFP student instead of insert as. What I'm trying to do here, I just need to get I want to get the and I will say select @ is equals to student ID from inserted. So what will happen? Any new value that is going to get inserted, From that we'll get the student ID. I'll say insert into student access value 1. Okay. Now there is no data in it. What I'm trying to do, I'll first try to insert into IMSC student into this main table value 1. Is that fine? So what should it do? It should first try to insert here. Okay? But it says not after, it says instead of. Then what it will do, without inserting here, it will see what is the action required. What is the action required? It says insert into student access. So it will just go insert here. Let me run this one. One row is affected, one row is affected. Let me check. What is happening? Is the student inserted here? No. Because you wrote something called instead of insert. It will not insert here, but it will hold the values in the inserted table for you to do some action. It will go and insert in the next place. Is that clear? Like this you have update and delete triggers as well. Okay. So whenever you say after trigger, it first does action on the table on which you want to do it, and then it does on the other tables. But whenever you say instead of, right, it won't do it in the main table wherever you have told. Instead of doing there, it will just go and directly do the execute action whatever you have written below. Is that clear? So we use triggers once again to maintain data integrity. Okay? Whenever you have to maintain data integrity across multiple tables in the database, you have to use triggers. So there are two kinds of triggers, instead of and after, and triggers can happen on three actions: select, insert, not select, insert, update and delete. Okay? That is it.